How many of you have ever heard about the Dunning-Kruger effect?
The problem with this effect is that not only are you incompetent at the subject matter,
but they overestimate their ability level.
So what that leads to is an overconfidence, an overestimation of your own abilities.
The fact is, if you did give them feedback, they would not take it well.
Okay.
I would love to know how she was able to build an arc reactor as well, because doesn't it require incredibly rare and incredibly expensive materials?
Tony Stark was able to build this in a cave!
There's just like a couple of circuit boards like thrown together, and then suddenly it's an arc reactor. And like, yeah.
With a box of scraps!
How does that? How do you take control of a pre-digital car that's just got no like actual
adapters?
I didn't even.
There's an adapter for everything.
They are fully functioning drivable cars that can also be completely operated using a remote control, brakes, headlights, throttle, steering, and gear selection.
So if they live in a place where the air pressure, or sorry, the water pressure is so great that you'd need like normal humans would need a high-powered suit to survive, they couldn't live in the atmosphere, could they?
Some whales, seals, and other cetaceans can dive to impressive depths of nearly 10,000 feet. These creatures have lungs and vascular systems that are somewhat comparable to human beings. The lungs of these creatures are completely compressible. These organs have adapted to hold more myoglobin.
But they find a vibranium resulting water plant. They crush it up and drink its juices, and all of them become blue people.
But they can't breathe on land anymore. They got to go to the water.
Well, and so yeah, I want to be specific about this. This is very odd to me, right? You take this juice, and it means that you need to get to water to live. How does that feel?
How does a dog know?
In such a way that convinces you, like, guys, we gotta jump in the water right now.
What direction south is?
A lungfish spends each dry season asleep underground. A fish with primitive limbs that breathes air. Every few minutes, it must surface to breathe.
I mean, it's really lucky that they ingested this stuff when they were near a beach.
But they find a vibranium resulting water plant.
I mean, it's really lucky that they ingested this stuff when they were near a beach.
Vibranium water plant.
Lucky that they ingested
vibranium water plant
near a beach.
And also the difference between saltwater and freshwater is like, that's a big deal.
Fish that can live or survive in a wide range of salinities, ranging from fresh to brackish to marine waters, are referred to as euryhaline species.
You take this crazy nonsense untested drug in order to prevent smallpox.
Edward Jenner, he took a bit of pus from a cowpox blister.
He infected his gardener's son with cowpox. Luckily, despite the sketchy experimentation, the young boy did not become ill.
It's weird as well, like when there's, she was concerned about taking the herb because it might like damage her unborn child. And I thought, this is such a fucking 21st century mindset, like as if people like that would have even the slightest concept of any of this.
The angel of the Lord appeared to her and said,
"You are going to conceive and have a son."
This is such a fucking 21st century mindset. Like,
now see to it that you drink no wine.
Like as if people like that would have even the slightest concept of any of this.
And that you do not eat anything unclean.
Soon after, Manoah's wife gave birth to a son, Samson.
The expecting mother hasn't worked too hard, chewed gum, or lifted heavy things.
The Mayans were an incredibly hygienic people and consistently bathed. While other cultures were living in feces-covered castles, the Mayans had figured out the practice of washing their hands and mouths after eating.
She was concerned about taking the herb because it might like damage her unborn child. And I thought, this is such a fucking 21st century mindset, like as if people like that would have even the slightest concept of any of this.
Sheer fucking hubris.
Underwater seems to create some problems. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, how do you build stuff, man? Like in water?
One of the most intriguing properties of Roman concrete is its ability to harden underwater.
How do you build stuff, man? Like in water?
Because it's not like on land where you have seasons or you have like changing weather or anything. Like you're under the ocean, it's just the same all the time.
The amazing variety of life here is not only ruled by heat and cold, but by tides, currents, and storms. These govern the seasons of the sea.
Yeah, the Aztecs are all about clay and shit. How the fuck did you build clay structures? The Aztecs are all about clay and shit.
On the Yucatan Peninsula,
The Aztecs,
ancient Mayans.
The Aztecs are all about clay and shit. Clay and shit.
I guess you could do rocks, I suppose, and you stack them on top of each other. I guess you could do rocks, I suppose, and you stack them on top of each other. I guess you could do rocks, I suppose, and you stack them on top of each other.
Yeah, I guess that could work.
But I don't know what you'd use for wood.
Wood.
You couldn't use hammers because
Oh, no, what could benefit them?
You couldn't use hammers.
And they were reset to what they went into the water with, which is what? A knife?
The Maya stonemasons had their own special tools made from a stone called jadeite. They made tools such as hammers and chisels. Many of the Maya tools are the same shape as our modern tools, except they were using them a long time before we did.
And they were reset to what they went into the water with, which is what? A knife?
That's not a knife.